Hi everyone, it's Kim from Affordably Crafty, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Kim, and my channel is all about learning how to stretch your craft dollar and be affordably crafty. Please like, share, and subscribe so your friends can learn how to be affordably crafty too. So today I'm going to be doing the start of my first book reading. So as many of you know, I have a big interest in vintage crochet, and I would even venture to say this is antique crochet related and knitting. So I have found a very nice book from 1918 that uses a children's story to walk girls or boys through steps in making a complete wardrobe for a doll as they learn to knit and crochet. And anybody that's interested in making period clothes, this is supposed to be a treasure trove of period patterns. But there's a really awesome story that goes with it that I'm going to read to you. Because in these times, we need something that's a little bit more relaxing, shall we say. The Mary Frances Knitting and Crochet Book, or Adventures Among the Knitting People by Jane Eyre Fryer, illustrated by Jane Allen Boyer, and from actual photographs. The John C. Winston Company, Philadelphia, from 1918. Preface. Dear girls, or boys, after reading about Mary Frances's many adventures among the kitchen people, and the thimble people, and the garden people, and with the doll family and the brave family in the Mary Frances books, perhaps you thought that no girl, not even Mary Frances, could find any more funny little fairy helpers right in her own home. But Mary Frances did. For the knitting people had overheard many of the lessons which the thimble people gave her, and they were almost jealous. At least they probably would have been jealous if they had not planned to surprise Mary Frances with some delightful lessons in crochet and knitting. Such good lessons they were that almost before she knew it, Mary Frances had made the loveliest caps and sweaters and booties for her dolls. Just exactly the kind you want for your own dolls. And you can have them if you wish, for Mary Frances says that the knitting people told her that they are always just as ready to help any other girl, or boy, who wants their help, if she will follow the lessons exactly as they are given in this book. She says, too, that after a girl has learned to crochet and knit for dolls, it is just as easy as ABC to crochet and knit for real people, and that knitting articles for soldier boys and fathers and mothers makes a person feel of very much account. It is the hope that you will enjoy these new adventures as much as Mary Frances did. But this book is sent out to the girls and boys of America with the best of wishes. The author, Merchantville, New Jersey. So we are going to be reading today Chapter 1, Knit and Knack, K-N-A-C-K. Instructions. Note: the garments described in this book will fit 12 to 16-inch dolls. It is impossible to give exact measurements because few people crochet and knit with exactly the same tension. In making garments for other than 12 to 16-inch dolls, it would be best to cut a paper pattern to fit the doll and make the garments fit the pattern, following as far as possible the directions given in this book. Important! In order to learn to crochet and knit, the beginner should follow the directions and make the garments in the order they're given in the part of the story. Do not try and understand the directions before the work. Learn one new thing at a time, doing exactly as told. Advance step by step. In these directions, woolen yarns were used, but mercerized cotton yarns may be used in their place with good results. Did you say knit? Chapter 1, Knit and Knack, K-N-A-C-K. We will teach her to knit, declared Mary Frances's grandmother's knitting needles proudly. They spoke together. When they did not speak together, they always repeated what each other said. You see, they were twins. One was named Nick and one was named Knack, and the other one was named Nick and the other was named Knack. And I will teach you to crochet, said the big crochet hook just as proudly. Knitting is a much older art than crocheting, said Knit. Knitting is a much older art than crocheting, said Knack. Knit! Exclaimed Crochet Hook, C-R-O-W-S-H-A-Y-H-O-O-K. It is not. We will teach them to knit. How can you prove that? Asked Knit. How can you prove that? Asked Knack. Easily, answered Crochet. Crocheting is making knots. Knots were made by people before they ever thought of weaving. Knitting is a sort of weaving, you know. Knotting is not, you know. To tell the honest truth, a new voice spoke, I do not believe any of you know what you are talking about. But I could tell you a story. And the big ball of yarn rolled over nearer the group of needles. Oh, spare us, Woolly Ball, begged all the needles. We don't want to hear any more yarns. It is easy to see, went on Woolly Ball, pretending not to notice their impoliteness, that for most people, crocheting is more easily learned than knitting. Therefore, it seems best that Crochet should begin the lessons. What's that? The Yarn Baby suddenly sat up, her hair standing straight on her end of her head. It always stood up straight and stiff when she was excited. You know very well, Woolly Ball, that I was chosen to direct these lessons. Please excuse me, begged Woolly Ball. I am always so intent in knitting and crocheting that sometimes I forget myself, I fear. The Yarn Baby's hair slowly settled back into place. She smoothed and patted it down carefully. It so happens that I felt that Crochet had best commence the lesson, she said. Crochet glanced over at the knitting twins. Get the hook, laughed the knitting needles. We shall have lots of fun listening to the crocheting lessons. All right, cried Woolly Ball to Crochet. Let's get ready, Hooky. I'll chase you into the Red Cross knitting bag. And away hopped Crochet, while the ball rolled after him. Right down into the bottom of the big bag they landed, and Crochet curled up close to Woolly Ball. We shall have a splendid time with Miss Mary Frances, don't you think, Woolly Ball? Asked Crochet. Indeed we shall, said Woolly Ball warmly. If we begin to have the fun the Thimble people had, we shall feel very happy. Chapter 2. Aunt Maria Steps In. For a long time, Woolly Ball and Crochet lay very still in the knitting bag, hoping that Mary Frances would soon come into the room. At length, Crochet began to move about restlessly. Do be quiet, whispered Woolly Ball softly. Do be quiet. If you don't stop jumping about, you'll punch a hole in the bag. I can't keep still, complained Crochet. My foot's asleep. My, how it hurts. How does it feel? Asked Woolly Ball in sympathy. Just like tiny mosquito bites all over me, which scratching won't help. I guess you mean moth bites, exclaimed Woolly Ball. Will you two keep still, said the Yarn Baby, tapping upon the knitting bag with her soft little fist. I think that I hear footsteps. Don't speak to me now, don't speak to me never, and I will be quiet forever and ever, sang Crochet, poking his little round head up through the top of the bag. Oh, are you going to be bad? Sighed the Yarn Baby. Get down in there. She pushed his head down into the bag and tied it shut. Now he's shut up she said, settling down beside the bag and smoothing her hair, which had begun to stand up. She was just in time, too, for she finished putting the last strand in place. The door opened, and in stepped Mary Frances's Aunt Maria. "For the land's sake," she exclaimed. "For the land's sake, so that is where Mary Frances left her knitting bag. I've hunted high and low for it. I never thought to look on the floor." She sat down on Mary Frances's little rocking chair and emptied Woolly Ball and Crochet on her lap. "Very well," she said. "These things will do to start with. I shall begin with her lessons tonight." Just as she put them back into the bag, she spied the Yarn Baby. "I'll put that silly doll in too," she said, tumbling the Yarn Baby into the bag and pulling the drawstrings tight. Then she carried the bag downstairs and out to the porch, where Mary Frances sat in the porch swing, reading a book. "It is high time, my dear," she said, "that you learn to crochet and knit. Tonight I shall give you your first lesson." "Oh, won't that be splendid, Aunt Maria?" cried the little girl. "I do want to learn so much." "It seems very strange to me that you do not know anything about such work," said her aunt. "Why, I made your father learn how to knit when he was only 6 years old." Mary Frances did not tell her Aunt Maria that her father had told her all about those lessons and how he hated the work, because every time he made a mistake, his aunt would whack his chubby, clumsy little fingers with a ruler. You see, Aunt Maria was Mary Frances's great aunt and was the aunt of her father also. Mary Frances's grandmother, the mother of Mary Frances's father, died when he was a little boy, and his Aunt Maria had brought him up. "Mother would like to teach me," said Mary Frances, "but—" "Your mother was not brought up right," her aunt snapped. "What does she know about crocheting? She doesn't know her star stitch from the coffee bean stitch, and for knitting, I don't suppose she knows plain knitting from purling." "Oh, a very queer way to bring up a child." "But Aunt Maria, don't you remember? Mother fell and hurt her arm when she was little and couldn't use it for such work for years," said Mary Frances. "Even now it hurts her arm to try to crochet." "That is what I commenced to tell you." "Oh yes," said Aunt Maria, "I remember now. But your arm doesn't hurt, and you must learn to crochet and knit, my dear niece. You are so much like me anyway that you must learn to crochet and knit well. Then you may grow up to be almost exactly like me. Now I must go set my bread. Nothing ever interferes with my program except sickness or death. You must be like me in that too." And the old lady went down the path. At the gate she turned. "Remember, I'll be ready at 7 o'clock. The end of chapter 2. I'm going to be reading some more out of this in the coming days. So if you like this and you really enjoy these vintage or antique crochet stories, please comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe so your friends can be affordably crafty too. Have a creative day, everyone. Bye.